Thank you, Garrett.
How can Massachusetts make its state college system better and more affordable?
Mr. Dunford.
Thank you. I think the state colleges here are actually adapting very, very well from what I can see to this environment. We all are having to look at pulling in our belts in this environment. And I think the state colleges are being particularly competitive now. I like the fact that I think that they're being more responsive to their customers, the potential students, looking at 3-year programs in terms instead of 4-year programs for reaching the graduation certificate. I think that is an effective way to really be addressing the costs of higher education at this point, and I look forward to seeing them continue with that. Other than that, of course, it's important for the legislature to continue to support what I think is an excellent educational system, higher educational system here in the state, as much as can be done within the budget. I believe that priorities can be set within the budget to help in terms of the educational costs of higher education in this environment, because there are other expenses within the budget, and I'm talking about Mass Health, Medicaid, I'm talking about the excessive pensions that are paid to state workers, I'm talking about costs, welfare costs to illegal aliens in the state. There are many other costs within the budget that can be trimmed. Priority should be higher education.
Speak.
Thank you very much for that question. And it's an important one, because during this economic downturn, when we have seen a ever-decreasing revenues coming into the state from capital gains tax, from sales tax, from other income tax, from other forms of taxation, we've had to make some difficult decisions. We have addressed pension reform. We have cut out waste and abuse. We've laid off over 2,600 people from state government. We've consolidated agencies. We have made those difficult decisions, and every cut has a face on it and a person who's affected by it. Some of the painful cuts we've had to make is to our state college and university system. And what that means is any of you who are going to any of the UMass colleges or universities or any of the community colleges, you've seen tuition go up and fees go up, putting college out of reach for many who are qualified, who should be allowed to go. You think it's bad now? If question 3 that proposes to repeal the sales tax to 3% gets enacted, we're going to see across-the-board cuts of as high as 25%, which means more cuts to higher ed, which will be draconian in nature. You know, my opponent says he's an economist, yet he supports the rollback in the sales tax. All 4 candidates for governor are opposed to it. Today, the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce and Associated Industries of Massachusetts all came out against the repeal of the sales tax because of the devastating effect that it would have on state programs and things like colleges and universities.
Mr. Chairman, you get a chance to respond because the follow-up question, next question is on the tax ballot question. So we'll start with Ms. Peake on that, but Brian, go ahead and ask that question.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Do you support question 3, the reduction of the sales and use tax? Do you support any other reforms of our state tax? For example, question 1 on the alcohol tax?
I'm going to speak, sir, just on the order, but you'll get your chance.
My turn? Okay, great. Well, I guess you know my answer to question 3. I'm going to vote no on question 3, and I would ask others to also. Question 3 that proposes to roll the sales tax back to 3% as of January 1st, it would be better called a vote to increase your real estate taxes or cut local programs. That would include funding Chapter 70 that helps fund some of the programs at this school. That would include other local aid that helps fund our firefighters, our police forces, and all of that. We would see across-the-board cuts. And I stand in good company with this position. I stand with all 4 gubernatorial candidates. I stand with the Massachusetts Taxpayers Foundation. I stand with the Associated Industries of Massachusetts. And I stand with the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, as well as with teachers, firefighters, and others who will be directly affected by it. Question 1 is the repeal of the sales tax on alcohol. 100% of that sales tax goes to drug and alcohol rehabilitation programs. I believe that every dollar we invest in helping somebody with their addiction problems is thousands of dollars that we save down the line, either through the criminal justice system through the cost of broken families and the services that are associated with that. Exemptions to the sales taxes for necessities, things like clothing, shoes, fuel oil, all those exemptions remain in place. We rank 43rd among the 50 states in our sales tax burden. I don't think it would kill us to keep the sales tax on alcohol.
Mr. Dunford.
I disagree really dramatically with my opponent on these particular issues I see. In terms of question one, I would definitely vote yes on question one in terms of rolling back the sales tax on alcohol. That is taxed and taxed and taxed. There's a considerable excise tax already on alcohol, and now this is a tax upon tax. We have enough evidence of people going over the borders, particularly New Hampshire, and taking business away from our liquor establishments here in Massachusetts. We have pictures of the license plates of representatives going to New Hampshire. I think, come on, let's bring the business back to us. Let's not drive business out. We've been doing that too much in this state. On question three, I dramatically disagree. And I think there's an awful lot of common sense to this. Let's look at what question three is. It's asking for the 3% reduction. I have been on paper of saying I support a 5%, a reduction in the sales tax of 5%. That's not on the ballot. 3% is. I think we have to send a message to Beacon Hill. This Beacon Hill has been very much, let's raise the taxes, let's raise the taxes. If it is not voted, then Beacon Hill will take it as a message that the voters do not want to see taxes decreased. That is wrong. Also, it has been an analysis by Suffolk University that actual decrease in taxes, sales tax will increase the economic viability of businesses, add over 27,000 jobs to this Commonwealth, and this is exactly what we want to do. So I think there's an awful lot of benefit, and we don't need to listen to scare tactics that are being thrown out there to try to persuade people not to vote.
Next question, Tyler.
Do you support the current laws relative to gay marriage in the state, or should they be reformed in some way?
Starting with Mr. Dunford.
Thank you. The laws, I support all the laws that are on the books of Massachusetts. I think it's important to recognize that that this was done and it exists. And you know, this is a divisive issue within the district. I think it's important to recognize that as a representative, the last thing I want is to create division. As a representative, I want to bring everyone together. So what I think would be most important, that should that ever be brought up again, that the vote should represent the people in this district. So I would vote that issue after taking the poll of the people of the 4th Barnstable District, and again, listening to the voters, listening to what they want, and voting accordingly.
Ms. Peake?
Great, thank you for that question. I do support marriage equality and civil rights and equality and access to due process for all people, whoever they may be, that are disadvantaged in a way. And it's no secret, this is a very personal issue for me. My wife Lynn and I were married on May 22nd in 2004, and it has made a significant difference in our lives, legally, emotionally, and in every way that you can imagine. I was proud to sit in the state legislature during the last session when we were able to cast a vote in support of marriage equality and to join with the overwhelming 2/3 plus majority of my colleagues in the Senate and in the House to preserve equality and not to enshrine discrimination in the state constitution. I'm following closely the don't ask, don't tell issue that's, it's been cited in the courts, and now the president and the joint chiefs of staff are trying to figure out what their next move is. I'm watching that. I think every time this nation takes a step towards equality, it makes us stronger as a country, and I'm proud to be a resident of Massachusetts, where we were first in the nation with marriage equality, now followed by Iowa, I believe, and Washington, D.C.
Garrett, next question.
Do you support question 2, the removal of the law that streamlines the permit process for developments that include affordable housing? Why or why not?
Ms. Peake?
I do not support question 2, but there too, I would ask you to join with me in voting no on question 2. This is the affordable housing bylaw. It's known as Chapter 40B. And Mr. Dunford talks about taking a poll. Well, it's interesting. I don't take formal polls, but I talk to a lot of people answer my own phone, answer my own emails, and have visits from a variety of stakeholders who come and see me at the State House or in the district. I've been visited by affordable housing advocates, people who work right here in Harwich on affordable housing issues, the Lower Cape CDC, which is now known as the Community Development Partnership, and I've been visited also by the Cape and Islands Board of Realtors. Both of those groups have asked me to vote no on question 2, because question 2, or Chapter 40B, is the most significant and important tool that we have to create affordable housing in the Commonwealth. And on the flip side, it is the most important tool we have to create market housing, fair market housing for developers to be able to build houses, profit from that, and give people a place to live. So I don't think there's any downside to voting down question 2, and I hope that it is defeated at the ballot.
Mr. Dunford.
Thank you. Question 2 does have to do with the 40B, Chapter 40B and the affordable housing. As we look at what is very important to us here in the 4th District, it really is to maintain the character of what we are. And senior citizens are an important part of our constituent base. Young families are an important part of our constituent base. It is very difficult to afford housing out here on this peninsula. I think assistance in affordable housing is very important. I've backed it as a selectman in every project that has come in front of Orleans. I think it's important to recognize that 40B does have its detractors because of some thoughts that private developers perhaps are taking advantage of it, and that perhaps local control is being compromised and sent to the state as to what can be done and how it can be done. But from my observation, I still see sufficient local control and being able to manage 40B, particularly through the zoning boards of appeal in towns. I think that it is a way to achieve and move towards the goal that it does try to represent of getting 10% of housing to be affordable housing, which I think is appropriate. Bottom line, I would also vote no. I would suggest voting no on question 2. 40B is working. I think it is helpful to address a need.